Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the Awesome Life Podcast. I'm Karen Stultz, your host today, and I am here with a wonderful new friend. She is an amazing lady, Candy Motzek. Did I pronounce that right?
You got it. You got it.
Oh,
We're off to the races now.
yay! I love it. I love it. Candy is absolutely amazing. She is uh, an author. She's a podcast host. She's a business coach for life coaches. And she helps really smart people start their successful coaching businesses. She believes that the coaching transformation lives and is a that being a coach is a calling, and she helps her clients get unstuck and feel more confidence and more clarity so that they can play a bigger picture, sign more clients, and create more meaningful success. She is a recovering corporate executive and engineer that combines practical strategies and mindset in her calming, unique approach. And I can tell you from experience with this wonderful lady that her approach is amazing. I just love hanging out with her. And I'm so honored to have you as my guest, Candy. Thank you so much.
Karen, thank you so much for having me. We've had a couple of conversations and I've just loved our conversations. So when you invited me to be on the podcast, I was like, yes, that sounds great. So super pleased to be here.
Oh, well, the pleasure is all mine. And this is for the women in transition. And being a coach myself, this is the area that I often would like to guide women to be. But I am not a business coach. So being able to have wonderful business coaches who are also very in tuned and enlightened and everything. Tell me, what helped you decide to leave be the recovering executive, corporate executive, and become a coach?
Yeah. So it happened in the other order. So I became a coach and then worked my exit plan to leave corporate. And I think the operative word there is recovering, is that being in corporate is wonderful in many ways. And I worked with so many amazing, lovely people. And then there, for me, I mean, it's just my journey, it was toxic. And I did need to recover, literally recover from burnout. Much of that was current business scenario of people being expected to do much, much more with much less. And then, on the other side of it is learning how to set boundaries and wanting to be successful. And so allowing those boundaries to slip as I pursued success. And so the recovering is like, yes, recovering from corporate with tongue in cheek, but then also it really was recovering from burnout and recovering, re engaging, reintegrating with who I really am. And that person is a coach and always has been.
Excuse me, I forgot to silence my phone. But yeah, indeed, it is something we need to honor our inner selves, don't we? We need to
Mm-hmm.
really recognize what we need, and not just have the money pushing us that you might be making, the good money.
Yeah.
It's nice, but not if it's affecting your life.
Yeah, not at the expense of your life. And there's that term golden handcuffs for a reason. And there's a lot of people who experience that where they think they outwardly they have everything and they feel trapped because inwardly they're not satisfied, right? And so maybe that's something that speaks to some of the women in transition that are listening, is that outside, on the outside, to the outside eye, your life looks amazing. You've got the house, you've got the trips, you've got the wardrobe, you've got it all. And then inside you're just like, oh, help me. I want something different, and I don't even know what it is anymore.
Yeah, and that's what this show is all about, just to give that inspiration and tips and ideas as to how to find that. Because honestly, a lot of us stop ourselves, don't we? We say, "Ah, oh, yeah, coaching. Yeah, I know a lot of struggling coaches. That'll never work."
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
you know what? It can if you set it up. And I love the fact that you said that it was the reverse. You did not leave one and go to the other. That is just not a smart move.
No, exactly. Right. And, and people, we're smart people. I have this thought that people think it's one thing or the other, but really it's in the and that this is important, right? And so maybe that helps give people permission to know that they can start down that other path. They don't have to burn the bridges. I know that that's a lovely dramatic story with a great metaphor attached to it, but you know, like, does it really serve you to burn the bridges and then put yourself out at risk? I don't know. To me, it doesn't. Not for me, anyway.
No, no, it's not a realistic move. And
Yeah.
although many coaches, not all, but many coaches are in the spiritual realm, and follow spirit and follow the ideas. Let's be real. We live in a real world, and there are
Yeah.
certain needs that we have to meet, and we need to have income to meet those needs, like having a roof over your head, having clothes, having food, having heat. Those things are kind of important for our security. So the inner happiness
Mm-hmm.
comes from somewhere else sometimes,
Yeah.
because
And I would layer on there too, Karen, that it's a, like, as I hear you speak, it's a good reminder to me that those things like a roof over our head and, money and food on our table and all of those sort of real world things that that you mentioned, they too are spirit. So the less of a divide that we create, artificially create, sometimes it's easier. Remembering that all of that is spirit. And so all of it applies.
I love that. Our mind, body, spirit, we all work together. And when it's all in alignment, I mean, the world is in our hands. We can do
Yeah.
almost anything that we so
Yeah.
desire at that point. But it's just getting to that point. So, one of the things that has been a real bother with me, and it took me so long. I mean, honestly, I've been in the coaching world since 2001. I didn't start making any money until 2018.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
and
long
that's
journey.
that's that's the comments that I got, and I'll tell you why. It's because I believed everything that the coaches were telling me. This
Mm.
is the program you need to use. This is how much you need to invest. You need to have this. How much are you going to invest in that? And okay, so that's but I didn't know what I needed or where I wanted to go or what my message was or the niche that I wanted to be in or any of the things that were kind of important. Basically, at that time, I just knew that I didn't like where I was. My big why was I didn't want to die with regret. That is still my
Mm.
big why.
Mm.
Um, but I want more than that.
Yeah.
So I ended up going through hundreds of thousands of dollars, literally, and going major into debt. And it's like this is what I see for a lot of coaches. Um, so doing it your way sounds like a real nice thing. You have to look for the energy that you have in a coach. Would you? That's what I'm thinking. What do you think, Candy?
Yeah. So, I mean, you've just talked about so many aspects, and I think that it's really important to be transparent. And I honor you for that. You know, to say I spent thousands and thousands of dollars and I went into debt because I trusted the experts, and that some of those experts were actual experts and others were just very proficient marketers, and you don't know who is who, right?
Mm.
And so I think that that's really important to acknowledge. So there's a number of things that sort of occur to me here, and I'm not sure which way is the most helpful for the listeners. And you can see that I'm not looking at you because I'm listening inside to hear what that voice says.
Yeah, be sure to
um,
come over to conversations and you can see this lovely lady as well.
so as people work with me, this is one of the first things that I say is I spend a lot of time not actually looking at you. I have to look elsewhere, and then I listen and I hear. So there is there are two things. The first is that the only coaching practice that will be satisfying to you is your practice, one that is aligned with who you are. So there is that place where you honor yourself and use yourself as that gauge whether you're on track or not, kind of like like you're on a compass. Are you going north, or are you 16 degrees northeast or something, right? So always aligning, learning to trust yourself. And this is so, with that metaphor, there is this place where becoming a coach, becoming a spiritual entrepreneur, there is a it is kind of like being an explorer from maybe the 1200s. I'm not getting into the roots of colonialism and all of that. That's a whole nother discussion. However, that idea that we don't quite know where we're going, but we have a compass and we can use that compass to assess our direction. So finding your internal north arrow. And then the weird thing about trusting yourself, that is north for you. So there is that side of it. The other side of building a coaching practice is that we are trained from young children to look up to people and to ask them for the right answer. We are not trained to go and look for our own answers and to experiment for the most part. Of course, there are some school systems that that's not true. But for the most part, you put your hand up. Can I go to the washroom? You have to wait for permission. Do I have the one right answer? Yes or no? And so we have this idea that there is the right way. But being an entrepreneur, there are hundreds, thousands of right ways. So, as a new coach, and I did this following different experts as well. And each of their way, I love the idea that instead of some of them being slick marketers who are a little bit suspect, I like the idea that each of them teach a way that works.
Mhm.
But what we have is an incomplete sentence, a way that works for them, not
I'm glad
necessarily
you,
for me,
I was coming
right?
out with it. It was like, excuse me.
Yeah, right.
Thank you. Yes. Yes, that's it.
So, how do you take your North Star and then at the same time create a mechanism, because that's what a business is? It's a mechanism, it's a machine to create money, create impact, allow your creativity to be distributed to the world. And so, from a business standpoint, our businesses are actually quite simple. We have people that we help solve one problem or multiple problems. That's our niche. What do we help them with? That's the thing. The second thing is, what's my offer? How do I help them? Do I do coaching? Do I do a program? Do I do write a book? Whatever, right? So, who and what, how, what's my offer, and how much is it? You have some back office stuff so people can come and find you and you have a way of transacting business. And then you have your how do I market? How do I talk to people? How do I tell them who I am? But those are only four things. And yet, if you were to go on to Instagram or any social media platform, you would think that there are a bazillion things that you have to do. But when you simplify it, it makes it easier. So that's my slightly different approach is let's get it simple. Let's keep it streamlined. Let's keep people focused and let's remind them that they are the ones that are the experts in their life. They know what's right for them.
I love that, Candy. And that's really why I was drawn to Candy, because of that simplicity. And Awesome Life Success is about making it fun, making it simple, and being aware and allowing, but enjoying what you're doing. And when you have too many of those things, it just you go into overwhelm, absolutely into major overwhelm. And that is when I say, all right, let's step back, look. There are only four things we need to look at.
Right? It's only four.
And what is the first step that we're going to do today in the next 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Exactly. To feel good about taking that step.
Exactly. Yeah. And you don't have to feel good about taking the step. Like the marketing piece can be very uncomfortable for people starting out. and I'm not going to deny it. It is. For some people it's easier than others, but if you choose your method, like in this case a podcasts are amazing. Podcast is my method. You choose that method and you just go all in on that method. You will see that I also have other social media things that I do, but podcasting is the heart of my message. Everything must touch or come from my podcast. So for your listeners that are thinking of a business or are midway through a business, like you said, what's your one thing, right? And what can you do in 30 minutes?
I love that.
Keeping it simple.
And tell us, what is the name of your podcast so people can get?
It's She Coaches Coaches. Oh. Yes, it is the tongue twister.
She coaches coaches. But you know what? It is the ideal. Awesome Life podcast. People might not have a clue, but She Coaches Coaches. How clear and concise is that? And that is one of the key things. But I like awesome, so I keep awesome.
Yeah. And also, I think that this Awesome Life, I think that it's great because it allows people to go, oh, my awesome life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is
that's what it's all about.
Different than yours, which is different than, the next person, right? And they get to define it. It's wonderful.
Yeah. I remember working with somebody many years ago in the private sector, and a coworker, and she said, "Why don't you like me, Karen?" I said, "You're fine. We're just not on the same wavelength of what brings us pleasure. That's all."
Right.
That doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with me or anything wrong with you or that I don't like you. That it has nothing to do with it. It's simply we're different and we need to honor those differences because that's what makes the world go round.
Yeah, it's just like cats and dogs. They're different and they don't always want to socialize together, right?
Yeah, but sometimes they do, and it's all good,
Yeah, exactly.
It's all good. And the possibilities are endless. So that is one of the things that I think you need to have the basics, as you say, those four things. You need to have that.
Yeah.
But how you use those four things, the possibilities are endless. So
that's right.
What makes it enjoyable for you? And I really love my podcast because I love hanging out with my guests and having them share things and learning from them. So listeners, I hope that you are hearing what Candy is saying, because it does not have to be as difficult, but it does require being aware being open to the possibilities and not closing the door, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you
Yeah.
ever have clients that say, I know everything that you're saying, but it just doesn't work?
Yes, I do. And happy to answer that. There's one other thing, and I think it's that when you said that the possibilities are endless, they are, and that can be the scary thing, or one of the scary things, because then we think that maybe we haven't got the right possibility. We're back in that there is only one right possibility, and somehow we haven't found it yet. Instead of thinking the right possibility is the one that I choose and that I dedicate myself to consistently and that I create. So I just wanted to add that, because I think that, like, for me, still, I have to take a step back and go, wait a minute here. No, 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 no. It's time to recalibrate. You're all of a sudden all over the place. Let's come back to just the thing, right? So I just wanted to add that. But then, to answer your question, do I have clients who say, I know all that, but it's not working? And the answer is yes. And here's why. It's because we believe that it should be fast. As you were describing your journey, and I think that you were a coach for more than 15 years before you started to actually make money. I thought, wow, I love that dedication. I love that commitment, right? Like, to me, it just shows that that's something that was so meaningful to you. People think that because you're solopreneur, spiritual entrepreneur, a coach, that it's different than another business. But if you were to go and buy a restaurant or a lovely retail shop, or you started one from scratch, you would never in your wildest dreams think that you would make a profit in the first year. You would be like, no, my 3-year plan is this. And then I'm going to increase my inventory. And then I'm going to add some advertising. And then I'm going to make sure that I take care of the people that I have really well. And then it will pay off. Right. And so that's why people go, well, I'm doing everything, but it hasn't worked. And I'm like, well, yeah, you've been doing it for a month. Like, right? Keep going, keep going, right?
And I would even offer, okay, yeah, absolutely. You can't, it's not just a month, that you're not going to see a whole lot of progress, but you can step back just a little bit and say, okay, what are the other possibilities?
Yes.
What
Yeah.
else can I do? And heaven knows I went down the tubes, Candy, more than my fair share of times, saying, all right, I have to give this up. That's all there is to it. This is stupid. I have to go back to a job
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
just find a way to live with regret. And fortunately, Spirit came and said, "Thwomp, thwomp. No, no, you
Yeah.
are on the right track. You just need to do things differently
Right.
because it's important." And let's look at it. What is our purpose in life? That's the big question so many people ask.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I think it's a very simple answer. Our purpose in life is to be happy and free.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. As you're talking, this is I agree that so many people want to live their purpose, and we all can, no matter what we happen to be doing. I had a conversation with a potential client earlier this week, and cash flow was a challenge for her. She had done a fair amount of work. She had quit her job, was a good job, and the coaching clients weren't coming in at the speed that she wanted or needed. And I said, well, then do something. Yes, keep on with the coaching. Yes, you're doing all the right things, but you also need money. Okay, well, so she said, oh, I could go and get a couple of consulting clients. So she found a way of doing managing her physical needs and making sure that her, you know, she wasn't as stressed about how she was going to pay her bills. She's still coaching, but this is a short term fix, right? And I think that taking care of ourselves, like the W of awesome is wellness, right? And wellness is also taking care of your physical needs and creating a place that you can start to leverage some of those possibilities that you spoke about. And there's no shame in that. There is nothing wrong with going, well, I guess I'm going to go and have to do something to get some cash for a bit. Okay, good for you.
Yeah.
Excellent. And so off she's gone. We're not working together right now, but that's okay. This is about her journey, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It
And
is.
that is her purpose, just like you described, just like you described.
That that feeling, and indeed having that emotional security, which is part of wellness, as well as the physical security.
Yeah.
And that does take money. And
Yes.
sometimes that's what we need to do. But the key here is not looking at the shift as, oh my God, I got to go back to work every day, but making sure it's something that you can feel good about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Agreed.
I had a client, exact same thing. She and I were, she was in her coaching world. We were on summits together. It was wonderful. And I talked to her, about a year after our last meeting, and she was working for a company again. She was back in corporate. And I said, really? I'm so sorry. And she said,
Mm-hmm.
no, it's wonderful. I'm keeping my coaching, but I have a lifestyle I want to live, and the coaching wasn't providing it. The coaching was supplying my spiritual needs
Oh,
and my
cool.
satisfactional needs. And I am working for a company that I had, as we were talking about earlier, setting up your boundaries. So
Mm-hmm.
I went in and I said, I see what I can do for this company if you will let me do X, Y, and Z. And I can have a good time, and you can have a good time, and you will have profits, and I will have a good time. And that's what it's all about.
Perfect.
So she
What a
has
great thing.
a wonderful 2-bedroom apartment in downtown San Diego, enjoying the
Oh, well,
sunshine, overlooking
yeah.
the water, and happy. So there's nothing to feel badly about as long as you look at what it is that will bring you that joy, that
Mm-hmm.
fun,
Mm-hmm.
that possibility
Right.
of
Yeah.
freedom.
I love that. And it's the and again, right?
And exactly, not
And
but, or it's
yeah, and she's figured it out.
yeah.
And she does both.
And she does
Nice.
both. And it is interesting. Uh, I have a degree in hypnotherapy, and one of my teachers would always say, okay, people would come and say, I've done all I can. There isn't any more I can do. And I've sold everything and I need some money and it's horrible. And his response was, why are you doing all of that? What more can you do?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, I can be exhausted. I can do that. No, there's more you can do without having those negative side effects.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I love that. That's really good.
Oh,
Cool.
Candy, I am so our time together is short. We're going to have to do this again, but Candy, how can people get in touch with you?
Okay, thank you. So the easiest way to come into my community is to listen to my podcast, She Coaches Coaches, and then you can just decide, oh, does my message sit with you? And every episode there is a way to come and get closer to me, whether it's to sign up for one of my free resources or my free resource library. And happy to share that link as well with your listeners too. But the easiest way is come through the podcast, right? And I'm really thankful that you gave me the opportunity to share that. And I want to also use it as that demonstration that it can be one simple thing. Come and listen to my podcast. There's always the next step. It doesn't have to be complicated, right?
Oh, I love it. I love it. And it is, I have to share my experience with Candy too, because she offers a wonderful opportunity for anybody who wants to take advantage to talk to her. And she is a wealth of information, and more than that, her heart shows through. And those are the people I enjoy working with. So, and I hope people enjoy working with me for the same reason. So it works
Oh,
both
I know
ways.
they do.
But sometimes, and I could hear myself, that was one of the questions I asked you, because I thought, dang it, girl, I have done those things, it's not working. And Candy, bless her, put two words into a an offer that totally transformed the way I was making the offer. And it made all the difference in the world.
Wonderful.
So, listeners, take an opportunity, reach out to Candy, because she is amazing. And even though you might have done it all before, sometimes it is, well, and in my mind, it's always in the messaging. And being able to express your message in a way that is authentic to you. Candy is a marvelous business coach for helping you do that.
Thank you so much.
So, any last words before we go?
No, I don't think so. I just keep hearing how you use that word possibilities. And I think that if there was a last word, that would be it. Possibilities. What is possible
What is
for you?
possible? And I would add
Yeah.
one more, my word of the year: trust.
Oh,
Trust
love it.
yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trust yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guys, until next time, thank you for joining us again for the Awesome Life podcast. Be sure to subscribe and like and comment. I love to hear the comments of what is going on, what you liked, and how we can improve, or whatever. I just like to hear from you guys. So go ahead and do that. And also come over to the YouTube channel and see the conversation in this beautiful, wonderful lady, Candy Motz.
Motzek, you
Motzek.
got it. You got it.
So until next time, be awesome.